Hello, I'm Pretty Real, and today I will be discussing shingles, which is a virus that is in the nervous system. First, let's take a look at what causes shingles.
Shingles is caused by all of us that had chickenpox as kids. It's called the Varicella zoster virus. And those of us who had the chickenpox know it's very itchy, it's painful. Uh, After we get over it as children, we the virus actually stays dormant in our spinal cord and in our brain.
Shingles can occur anywhere on your body. Now, the main parts that it happens on is your torso, the left or your right torso, maybe your on your shoulders, your face, on your head, the back of your head, and it's like a stripe of blisters with a very, very painful rash, which you can see in this slide.
As you can see by some of the blisters on the right picture, it looks pretty painful. And of course, the diagram on the left shows the torso, the head, everywhere it could be. Uh, and the virus does last, or the shingles do last about 2 to 6 weeks, depending on the severity of it. And there are some complications that can arise from the virus, uh, and some of these are pretty bad that I found out once I was researching this.
Some of the complications that can arise from the shingles virus is postherpetic neuralgia. I hope I said that right. And this is the ongoing of the pain once all the symptoms are gone, the blisters have scabbed over, and it starts to heal. You can still have that problem. Uh, Another problem, which is probably the worst that I found out, was the vision loss that may come from shingles. People will get it around their eyes, and usually that's when the eye doctor needs to get involved and whatnot because it can actually mess up your eyes and your vision. Of course, the neurology problems that associated with this. It's the meningitis, the encephalitis, which is the swelling of the brain, facial paralysis, and just infections in the eye and infections anywhere where it's at. And speaking of infections, also another big thing of it is the skin infections that come along with it. The skin infections I believe, are bacterial, which can just arise from it, from the blisters busting open and oozing, not being taken care of, getting some kind of bacteria in there. And as you can see in this next slide, where I took a couple of the photos that I found online to post.
Now, as you can see on the top left is the one for the vision loss, which is the major concern of shingles. And this picture is not as graphic as the ones I found, so it can get pretty intense when it comes to the head and the eyeballs. The top right, of course, is just skin infections. We all have had a skin infection or a rash or something, but with shingles, it gets a lot worse. And of course, with the neurological problems, like I said, the swelling of the brain, which is the bottom on the bottom right picture, this can really uh, hurt somebody, medically. And of course, the middle picture with the spine and the postherpetic neuralgia. I hope I said that right again, Professor. Anyway, it's the spinal cord, the nerves, and all the nerves that are messed up on the very ends of it that they still feel that pain, even though everything is gone.
Now, when it comes to who can catch this, I mentioned this earlier in the video. If you have ever had chickenpox, years later on, you may have this, and sometimes it can come back again after you had it shingles the first time. But some cases it was very, very rare. Those who are prone to get it are older adults, people who are 50 and over. Um if you have a disease that weakens your immune system, such as HIV, um, I can't remember another one, AIDS, HIV/AIDS, pretty much the same thing, and especially those who are going through cancer treatments with the radiation and whatnot, that lowers your immune system, and that actually can help the virus come to surface. And even taking certain medications will help. Will make this virus come up as well. Um, Luckily, I'm at 45, so I'm pretty worried about getting it myself. 'Cause I remember having chickenpox. So hopefully, those of us who are older won't get it.
And as I mentioned earlier, anybody who's ever had chickenpox can have the shingles virus. As you can see on the right hand side, it's a young fellow there with the chicken pox. Those of you who have never had it, that's what it looks like. It's very itchy, and it's a bit painful. The one on the left is the shingles, which is it's like chicken pox on steroids. To tell you the truth, I actually had a friend who had shingles, and he said it was very very painful. He just had it on his shoulder, but the blisters and the rash and the pain, the burning sensation on it, it was really really intense.
When it comes to symptoms, it's almost like you're getting sick. You have your high fever, or a fever, not a high fever, but a fever. You're really tired. You're fatigued. You're nauseated. Some cases have diarrhea. Of course, the burning and the itching of the skin on either one side of the body, the left or the right, your torso, shoulders, head, eyes, front of the head, back of the head, or your back, uh, tingling, numbness, wherever it's coming out, and of course headaches, really really bad headaches that come with it. Um, in the next slide, to show you, it's going to show you the symptom signs, a little diagram of that, and of course, an early stage when it's barely starting the shingles virus is starting to come on skin.
And as I mentioned, the symptoms. One that I forgot to mention was the sensitivity to light, which was actually something I never thought that this rash and blisters would actually make you sensitive to light. I guess that's if it's around your eyeball and stuff. Is what I'm figuring. And of course, you'd have the red rash that begins within a few days after the pain. So it's the pain first, then the rash, then come on the fluid filled blisters that they will break open, especially if you're scratching them, and then they crust over, and that's pretty much when the healing starts.
The way shingles is diagnosed is, of course, from the area of the pain, depending on where it's at, the arm, your back, the forehead, your eyeballs, and along with that, of course, you're gonna have the rash, the red rash. The blisters will start coming up, and hopefully, you've gone to the doctor before the blisters will start coming up. I've heard that's pretty intense once that's there. Once you go to the doctor usually do a scraping. They'll scrape it, or cultures when they actually take some of the fluid or the blisters, and they send it off to the lab to get analyzed. I don't think I'd ever want to go through that. I'm sure it's very painful.
Now, as you can see on this slide, there's the early stage of where the blisters are coming up. They're filled with fluid. They're red, and I'm sure they hurt. And then the late stage where they've busted. The person's probably on medication. They're probably starting to they're scabbing over. It looks like it's not as red. They're starting to heal. And like I said, I would never want to go through this. From what I've heard, and I mean what I've seen, and then looking up shingles, it's just I think it'd be very very painful.
Now, there is no known cure for shingles. Shingles is part of, like, it's a herpes virus, cold sores, genital herpes, and this is pretty much what it is. There is prescription medicine that can help you to kick it, to heal from it. But like I said, there's no known cure for it. There's something called Zovirax and Valtrex. I've heard of Valtrex before, and like I said, the infomercials for the herpes and whatnot. But like I said, there is no cure for shingles.
And some other medications that I did see when I was looking up the Zovirax and the Valtrex was there are topical creams, and I believe there's an injection as well for these two types of treatments.
When it comes to preventing shingles and chickenpox, when I was growing up, we didn't have a vaccine. Now there is a vaccine that they give to kids. I believe I can't remember. I know my kids got it maybe 4 years old, 3 years old. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. My wife will get mad. But and like I said, there's the shingles vaccine as well now that we can give to people. Personally, I don't like shots, so I don't think I'm gonna go for it. But if I have to, I have to. And like I said, there's no cure for it, but I believe the vaccines does help to minimize the outcome once you get it. I'm not too sure. Uh, so there's no cure for it. So hopefully, this preventative of the vaccine helps, especially little kids with the chickenpox. And those of you who haven't had chickenpox, stay away from people that do have the chickenpox, especially the outbreaks and whatnot.
And like I mentioned before, there is a vaccine for it nowadays. Growing up when I was a kid, I'm 45. We didn't have the vaccine, but luckily nowadays there is. It helps prevent it, and hopefully you guys have taken it. You're up to date on your shots.
So I'm pretty real. I did my video on shingles, and hopefully you have learned as much as I have learned about shingles, the vaccinations, treatment, symptoms, and how the prevention of it. And hopefully you guys will take something from this video. Thank you and have a blessed day.